I was 33 when my mother looked me straight in the eye and told me something I still can't forget. Your sister needs that house more than you do. At first, I honestly thought she was joking. The house she was talking about wasn't some family property. It wasn't an inheritance. It was my house, the one I spent 8 years paying for. The one I bought after working double shifts, skipping vacations, and saying no to almost everything fun in my 20s. But my mom wasn't joking. She sat across from me at my kitchen table, calmly stirring her coffee as if she were discussing the weather. Emily has 2 kids, she said. You're single. You can always start over. I remember staring at her, waiting for the punchline that never came. My sister Emily had always been the favorite. Growing up, she got second chances while I got lectures. She got support while I got expectations. I learned to live with it years ago, or at least I thought I had. What exactly are you asking me? I finally said. Mom sighed dramatically. I'm asking you to do the right thing. The right thing. As if giving away the biggest thing I'd ever worked for was some simple act of kindness. When I refused, her expression changed instantly. The warmth disappeared from her face. Family helps family, she snapped. I didn't know it then, but that conversation wasn't really about helping Emily. It wasn't about her kids, and it definitely wasn't about family. Because a few days later, I accidentally discovered the real reason. My sister was suddenly so desperate to get her hands on my house, and the truth was far worse than I ever imagined. 3 days after that conversation, I was still angry. Not just because my mom had asked me to give up my house, but because she acted like I was selfish for refusing. I tried to ignore it. I went back to work, focused on my routine, and avoided answering my mother's calls. But something about the whole situation felt wrong. Emily had always struggled financially, but suddenly everyone was acting like she was in some kind of emergency. Then, on Friday evening, I got a call from my cousin Rachel. Hey, she said cautiously. I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but I think you need to know. The moment I heard her tone, my stomach tightened. Know what? There was a brief pause. I was at your mom's house yesterday. Emily was there too. They didn't know I could hear them. I sat up straighter. And? Rachel lowered her voice. They were talking about your house. My heart started pounding. What did they say? Another pause. Then Rachel dropped a bombshell. Emily said she just needed your name off the property before certain people started asking questions. I felt cold all over. Certain people? That's exactly what I asked myself, Rachel replied. Then your mom said once the house is transferred, nobody can touch it. For a few seconds, I couldn't speak. Transferred? Nobody can touch it? That didn't sound like a struggling single mother needing a place to live. That sounded like someone trying to hide something. After I got off the phone, I couldn't stop thinking about it. The next morning, I decided to do something I had never done before. I looked into Emily's public records. At first, I found nothing unusual. Then I found a court filing. And another, and another. My hands were shaking as I scrolled through the documents. Credit card lawsuits, unpaid loans, collection notices, thousands upon thousands of dollars in debt, far more than anyone in the family knew about. But the worst part wasn't the debt. It was what I discovered at the very bottom of one filing. A hearing date, scheduled for the following month. And if what I was reading was correct, my sister wasn't trying to get my house because she needed a home. She was trying to protect herself from something that was about to destroy her entire life. The moment I realized what was happening, I knew my mother had been lying to me from the very beginning, and I wasn't about to let them use me as their escape plan. The more I investigated, the worse everything looked. At first, I told myself there had to be an explanation. Emily had made bad financial decisions before, but this felt different. This felt calculated. I spent the entire weekend digging through public records, court documents, and business filings. What I found left me stunned. My sister wasn't just drowning in debt. She had been hiding it for years. Several creditors were actively pursuing legal action against her. One lawsuit alone involved tens of thousands of dollars. Another filing showed that a failed business venture had left her, personally responsible, for money she couldn't repay. Suddenly, my mother's strange behavior made perfect sense. They weren't trying to help Emily find stability. They were trying to move assets out of reach before everything collapsed. And they wanted my house to be the shield. On Monday morning, my mother called again. This time I answered. Have you thought about what we discussed? She asked. I took a deep breath. Actually, I have. For a moment, she sounded hopeful. Good. Then I asked a simple question. Why were you talking about transferring my property before Emily's court hearing? The silence on the other end was immediate. A long, uncomfortable silence. Finally, she said, I don't know what you're talking about. The lie was so obvious that it almost made me laugh. Mom, I know about the lawsuits. Another silence. Then her voice hardened. You've been snooping. No, I replied calmly. I've been protecting myself. The conversation ended badly. Very badly. Within hours, Emily started texting me. At first, she played the victim. Then she became angry. Then she accused me of abandoning family. It was the same pattern they had used my entire life. Guilt, pressure, and emotional manipulation. But this time, something was different. I wasn't the scared younger sister desperate for approval anymore. I was a homeowner, an adult, and I had evidence. A few days later, I received an email from an attorney representing one of Emily's creditors. Apparently, my name had been mentioned during a financial review connected to her case. The attorney wasn't accusing me of anything. He simply wanted to confirm that I had no intention of transferring assets to Emily. That email changed everything, because now I knew this situation was much bigger than family drama. Real lawyers were involved. Real investigations were happening, and for the first time, I realized that if I had listened to my mother and signed those papers, I could have been dragged directly into the mess they created. But what I discovered next would expose a secret even my mother hadn't told me, and it would completely destroy the story Emily had been telling everyone. By that point, I thought I knew everything. I was wrong. A week later, another piece of the puzzle fell into place when Rachel called me again. You need to sit down, she said. My stomach immediately dropped. What now? Rachel explained that Emily's ex-business partner had started talking. According to him, the financial problems weren't caused by bad luck or a failed investment. Emily had been taking money from business accounts for years and hiding it from everyone involved. At first, I didn't want to believe it, but when more documents surfaced, the truth became impossible to ignore. The woman my mother had spent months defending wasn't an innocent victim. She had created her own disaster. And when everything started falling apart, she and my mom tried to make my house the solution. A few days later, the court hearing finally arrived. The creditors presented their evidence. The financial records were examined. And one by one, Emily's excuses collapsed. I wasn't involved. My property wasn't involved. And because I had refused to sign anything, my house remained completely protected. After the hearing, my mother called me crying. For years, I probably would have rushed to comfort her. This time, I didn't. Instead, I asked a simple question. Why was I the one expected to sacrifice everything? She had no answer. Because there wasn't one. Months later, Emily was forced to deal with the consequences of her own decisions. The family finally learned the truth. And many of the people who had pressured me into helping suddenly became very quiet. As for me, I stayed in the house I worked so hard to earn. The house everyone said I didn't need. The funny thing is, my mother was right about one thing. Someone really did need that house. Just not my sister. Me. And for the first time in my life, I stopped apologizing for protecting what I had built. My sister lost the story she was telling. My mother lost control of the narrative. But I gained something far more valuable, the confidence to choose myself over people who never would have chosen me. And honestly, that felt better than any revenge ever could.